Quick mic check for all the viewers out there. All the Khelo Chess India team members, just remember tomorrow we have second world countries chess team battle. So make sure you join tomorrow at 10 p.m. India time. You can see here the time 23rd May 2020 at 10 p.m. This is exclusively only for Khelo Chess India team members. You can Number six, you can see Khelo Chess India. That is the only team allowed from India to participate in this tournament. You can see all the teams from different countries that are trying to participate, but only one team, that is Khelo Chess India, has been given entry into this World Countries Chess Championship. So make sure you join the Khelo Chess India team, at least to represent your country in this tournament. That is tomorrow, 23rd May 2020 at 10 p.m. So I can see Saksham's comment. Hello Saksham, hope you're doing well, safe at home. I am back again with the live commentary. And yes, you should join Saksham. I'll be happy to see you play. Time is 10 p.m. tomorrow. And now let's go back and check our tournament. It is supposed to start in about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And just giving you one more information as a tournament, we still have 2 minutes with us. So this is the tournament that we have organized, Khelo Chess India First Bullet Tournament. You can participate in this tournament. The entry is free, and we are also giving away five cash prizes. There are five cash prizes to be given on Google Pay, and the date is 24th of May, that is Sunday, morning 10:30 to 11 a.m. The time format is going to be 2 plus 1. There is no berserk mode, and there are very few participants, so you have a lot of opportunity to get into top 5 and get the cash prize. Now the steps is, if you haven't joined the if you haven't subscribed to our channel, you can subscribe to our channel by clicking this link, and I'll share this link in the comment section so that uh, you all can check this page. This is my blog, and then you have to send us the details on the WhatsApp number. This is the number: player name, LiChess ID, mobile number. Share the screenshot after you subscribe to the channel. So share all this, and we will take your entry, and there will also be e-certificates given to all the winners of the tournament. So we have still 50 seconds. So, and the password will be shared 10 minutes before the tournament start. This is the link of the tournament. You can click on this link, and later on, once your registration is complete, we will give you the password, and you can play in this tournament and get the cash prize. So that's for all the viewers out there. You can also okay, so you can also spread this word to your friends who would like to join if you're not able to join Saksham. And Vivek Mahale, I can see the link option. Okay, the link is, you can go to Khelo Chess India, and in Khelo Chess India team, you can see the tournament. So you can watch the.
10,
Okay, so
9,
tournament is starting
8,
now.
7,
Vivek, if you are listening to
6,
me, I'll give
5,
it again.
4,
And
3,
the link of the current tournament. Okay, so
1,
it's going to start
0.
now. I have given away the link over here in the description box. And okay, I am being assigned a game. Let's try to play this game. Let's go in the full screen mode, guys. And yes, playing the c6. Let's try to play the pano variation. This is called as pano variation, wherein you can challenge black's d5 pawn immediately. So g6 has been played, and now let's play pawn to f4, and knight to f3, pawn to d5, pawn takes, and now pawn to e5. I just want to lock this center as much as possible. Now the queen b6 move is expected, and bishop g4 is expected. Yeah, this is all expected because now black will try to just make sure that his bishop is out, and then he can play pawn e6 and pawn f5 moves. Okay, so that's the current situation. Knight d4 is possible. Let us support this e3, then queen b6 will be played, right? So let's go for some aggression. Knight d4 is allowed. Should we allow knight d4, knight d5? Let's play bishop e2 first. Knight h6, and now I think we can play queen b3. Bishop takes f3 is possible, yeah. And we do have. Okay, that's a difficult situation now. I am just trying to give away the bishop here, and I can capture the pawn. Let's try to play bishop takes f3, allow knight takes d4. And if knight takes d4 now, then we can go queen a4 check, knight goes back to c6, and we can capture the pawn on d5 then. So first check, knight goes back, and let's play bishop takes d5. Let's not allow him to castle here. And the bishop can come back here and just make sure that the castle is not available. Also, we have this bishop takes c6 move. Now b takes c6, queen takes c6, and king has to move to f8. And the rook comes to c8 now. Let's go for castles. I'm allowing this queen b6 check as of now, but and knight g4 is also allowed. Let's see what's yeah, that was expected. I think knight g4 will be played now. Yep. And knight g4 I think can be answered by playing this knight to e4 move. Probably knight to e4, queen can come to c5, attack the bishop. Let's try knight to e4. Now I want to play h3 move, just try to kick this knight away. I think h3 will be answered by h5 move here. f5, yes, that's the one of the threats. h3 is forced. h3 I think will be answered by h5. Yeah, that's right. And now I have to be quick to make the moves. I have the escape square now to h2. That's the difference. I am losing on time, guys. I think so. But so far, it's a good battle. Just making sure that we are not leaving any stones unturned here to try for win. Okay, so check and king goes back. King goes here. I think h4 check is now fatal. h4 check is now fatal. h4, king f3, knight to h2 check, king e2, knight f1, king f1, and still my bishops and yeah. So queen a6 check is possible thereafter. So queen takes is compulsory, pawn takes, and black will survive after that. So what I'm thinking about here is h4 check, king to f3. I cannot go back to it. So king f3 is forced, then knight h2 check, king to e2, knight takes f1, king takes f1, queen a6 check, queen takes, pawn takes, and then I think black is okay. I think I can give this check, king moves, and pawn takes, bishop takes pawn. So still manageable. I don't think black will win immediately. I'll get a lot of pawns here, but it will be a good battle. Okay, so knight has gone back now, and let's try to play bishop to d2 here. h4 check, king goes back, and let's put bishop on e6. 6 seconds remaining now on the clock. Oh, d2 bishop is hanging. I did not see that. f4 has to be supported. Pawn takes, queen takes knight, pawn e6. We need to capture this knight. Ah, queen is hanging. So that's the game, guys. Let me resign now. A lot of bad moves in time pressure. So let me pause and let's check other games now. It was a nice game. So any comments? Okay, let me check at the comment section. So link of the current tournament, Sane Indian. So hello Sane Indian, if you're listening, just can you let me know which tournament are you asking of the link current tournament means? Uh, okay, and any other questions? My game is mad. Check this. Here is the link. Here is okay. So Saksham, I cannot see the link in the comment section. Okay, let's check the next game here. We have Timuth versus Play Good Moose. So the game is about to end, but let's check what happened in the opening here. So d4, d5, e3, c5, c3. It's a Cole system. f4, knight f3, bishop to d3, pawn takes, bishop g4, knight f3, pawn e6, castles, bishop d6, queen e1, bishop takes f3, rook takes f3, castles, rook to h3, pawn to h6. Okay, okay, rook to h3, queen to b6, king to h1, rook to e8, rook to f1 back. So why was rook back brought back to f1? I'm not sure. Okay, I cannot see any immediate threats from black to play rook f1. Okay, pawn a5, knight to d2, queen to c7, pawn to g3. Now the f4 pawn was hanging here because of this attack, double attack on f4 pawn. So knight went back to d7 now. Knight to f3, pawn to f6. Now this e6 pawn will have you have to push this pawn, and then this bishop, if possible, then it can have a very good impact on this open diagonal. Black is not having light squared bishop, so it won't be easy to challenge this bishop. If bishop comes to c2 and queen comes to d1, d3, then this mating attack will have to be stopped by something like pawn to f5, or even e5 can be played, then pawn takes, and this pawn can try to come to e4. I think that's what black is trying to play here, but that would leave actually this open file on for white to attack. So queen to d1, pawn to e5, pawn takes, knight takes, and bishop to c2 here. Knight takes f3, queen takes d5 check. An extra pawn is what white has gained now. King to h8 and queen takes f3. So it's an excellent pawn. And now queen e4, threatening a mate on this h7 square. So what is preferable here? Queen to e4 or queen to f5? Both are threatening mate on the square, the h7 square. I think f5 would have been better probably, or just keeping the queen here is also okay, no problems at all. But you have to think in your game, where would you like to put your queen, on e4 or f5 to deliver this mate so that this rook has an open file if required, and this queen has access to the queen side. So that's what probably white thought here. And then pawn to g5 was played, supporting this h7 pawn, h7 square from this second rank. This is called a second rank defense. Just push your pawn and try to defend from the second rank. Then we have bishop to e3 and queen to c6. Queen to c6, there is a checkmate. Achha, okay, so this queen has pinned white's queen on h1 square. So nice move by black here, trying to just pin the queen and avoiding the mate here. Now this queen will be exchanged, as well as it would be easier to play for black. So bishop d4, queen takes e4, bishop takes e4, king to f1, bishop d5 check, king to h7, and bishop takes e5. Was bishop takes e5 necessary here? Because yeah, so even here actually bishop takes b7 can be played first just to get 2 pawns up. And if so bishop b7, rook b8 will be played to attack this b2 pawn. Then you can play rook f7 check, give a check to king and support this bishop. And if then any other move, if king attacks the rook, the rook can be brought to d7 and attack this bishop, as well as the b7 bishop can be supported. So rook f7 was not necessary right now. I think first bishop takes b7 should have been played. But rook f7 was played anyhow. Now king g6 and bishop to c4, rook to c8, and rook to d6. Bishop goes to f8, bishop d3 check, king to f6, rook check, king to e6, and rook to f7, attacking this bishop twice now on f8. This f1 rook and f7 rook are strong in the f file. And then we have rook to d8, rook takes f8. I think first this check could have been given, right? Once this check is given, this bishop is safe. After giving the check, the king moves and then you can capture the bishop. So simple piece up for white. If white would have paid some attention here. So rook takes f8, rook takes d3, rook check, king moves to d5, rook check again, king moves to c4, and rook takes, king takes, and rook f2. So it would have been an easy win actually for one of the players if the players would have thought of some tactics. And then this is a pawn race now, which probably white has miscalculated and will lose the game very soon. Yep, that's the win for black now. Let's go back to the tournament. Here white resigned. Let's check the next game. So there was one request from Saksham. Saksham, I think your ID is Hidden Master, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, Hidden Chess Master. Let's see if you're playing today. Yeah, you're playing, and there's one win, one loss, no current games going on. So if your game is going on, we will try to include your game in the live broadcast. Okay, so let's check next game. Next game is between SRP from BCC and Kawal from Khelo Chess India. So d4 was first played at first move, d4 c5. This is called as the Benoni, old Benoni you can see, and modern Benoni. There are two types of Benonis. So if d4 c5 is old Benoni, pawn to d5, pawn to e6, pawn to c4, pawn to d6, pawn takes e6, f takes e6, knight to c3, knight to f6, pawn to e4, bishop to e7, bishop to d3. So in general pattern, this pawn e6 is actually captured back with the bishop. Pawn is gonna push to g6, bishop is taken to g7, and castles is done, followed by e6 and b5. That is the black's plan here. If you are playing Benoni, remember this plan. So pawn to e5, knight to f3, bishop to e6, knight to d5, bishop takes d5, c takes d5, castles, h6, and now e4, knight to d7, queen to e2, knight to h7, pawn to h3, bishop to g5. Now this is the way, guys, you can exchange your bad pieces. Let me just go couple of moves back. It is something to learn. Look at this bishop. This bishop is not an active bishop. So if you are able to exchange this bishop with this bishop or this knight, then you would be left with one bad piece less on the board from the black's point of view. In order to get it exchanged, knight can go to h7 and bishop can be brought to g5. Try to get this piece exchanged so that this bad piece is out of the board and you are left with only good pieces on the board. Okay, so knight h7 was played here, then pawn to h3, bishop to g5, knight takes g5, knight takes g5, and queen to g4. Now here actually black is having his knight on g5, so white is trying to destroy black's pawn structure by trying to threatening this bishop takes g5. If bishop takes g5, if queen takes g5, then queen takes g5, h takes g5, and there will be a double pawn on black's king side, and white will be happy about it. So to avoid that, black has played knight to f7 and pawn to f4. So whenever you have bishops, it's good to have as much as open diagonals, open files as possible to make sure that these bishops are active. So for example, if e takes f4 is played, then bishop b2, b3 and bishop b2 can be played here just to make sure that this bishop has a good diagonal. Or even here bishop takes h6, if possible it can be played, and rook will get an open file as well here. Okay, so that's all keeping in mind, and white is playing f4 for that. So knight to f6, I could have captured actually this pawn on f4, because if bishop takes f4, I can just simply play knight to e5, and this knight will attack queen as well as this bishop. And once the queen moves, I will just try to capture the bishop and make sure that this bishop is out of the board. One less good piece on the board here. Okay, so knight to f6, queen to g6, pawn takes, bishop takes, and queen e7, rook to e1, and now knight e5. Yeah, so e5 is generally a good square. And now if you look at the position, this e4 pawn is a backward pawn, which has to be supported by either minor piece or major piece, and white's pieces will be tied down, at least this bishop or rook, to make sure that this e4 pawn is supported. So this is called as backward pawn, and backward pawns should be your targets in the game whenever you are playing. Okay, and I can see one comment. Sunil, innovative designers. Hello, Sunil. Hope you're doing well. You're giving me a compliment. Thanks for the compliment, Sunil. I hope you're enjoying the commentary. If you have any questions, just put in the comment section. I would be happy to answer your questions. So knight e5, bishop takes e5, queen takes e5, bishop to b1. Okay, now bishop b1 is also an important move because there is a small tactic here. If you pay attention, there is this queen d4 check available, and if bishop is on d3, if king moves, then queen can capture the bishop on d3. Also there is queen d4 check and queen takes a4, but then queen would be driven away from all the action that is happening here on the king side. Okay, so knight now goes to h7, rook takes f8, rook takes f8, and rook to d1, just making sure that queen d4 is not available. And look at this backward pawn, guys. So this is going to be the pain right now for white, to make sure that this pawn is defended and it survives. So rook to f6, queen to g4, and knight to g5, just putting some pressure here on the f4 e4 pawn. And now rook f4 is threatened to attack the queen and to capture the pawn on e4. So pawn to h5, pawn to h4, knight back to f7, queen e8 check, king to h7, queen takes b7, and this is how the pawns start falling if you don't pay attention. So rook goes to f4 now, threatening to capture the pawn on h4, but just make sure that this, if you are paying attention, this f7 knight is hanging. So straight away this cannot be played, or probably it can be played because queen h2 check will be available. So what I'm trying to say is rook h4, queen takes f7, queen h2 check, king to f1, and rook f4 check, and this queen is attacked, this king is attacked, and black can get this queen on f7. So it would be a nice combination if it happens on the board. So white played queen to e2, and here actually in the rook takes h5, h4 should have been played. As I just explained, rook takes h4, queen takes f7, queen h2 check, king to f2, and rook f4 check, and get the queen on f7. So that would be a winning combination for black, but black was afraid, I think. Black put his knight on uh, h8. So just a minute, guys. So Gautam Sharma is asking how to participate in this tournament. So Gautam Sharma, there is a WhatsApp group link given in the description box. You can join our WhatsApp group. Every day we give the link for this tournament. You can join by clicking that link. Okay, the WhatsApp group is a link is given in the description box below. Okay, so let's get back to the game. So knight h8 was played, queen h3 coming back to the defenses now, and knight comes back to g6, pawn to h5, and knight to h4. I think yeah, rook h4 was not possible because of check on g6. So rook h4, knight h4 was played, queen to e6, queen takes h5, pawn to e5, knight to f5, and this bishop I think can now capture the f5. Rook takes f5 and rook takes e5. Rook takes e5, pawn takes e5, pawn, king to f2. I think yeah, pawn to d6 might have been a better move, and just get this passer rolling as soon as possible. King f2, queen to g5, pawn to d6, queen check, king to g3, king h2, pawn to e4, pawn to d7, pawn to d3, and pawn to e3, and now queen e7, just trying to get the queens as early as possible. So both have queens and now on the board. Look at this position, guys. This is a very funny position. Actually, it happens rarely on the board that both players are about to queen, and then one of the players can capture the queen on the queening square, and then again try to get into the game. So this is the position, and then queen d3 check happened, king to g5, and then this ended in a draw, but let's check what happened here. So I think it was a perpetual check. So queen takes, queen to even queens, and then we have queen d3 check, king to g8, queen to d5 check, King to h7, queen to f5 check, king g7, king g8, queen to c5, and queen h4 check. I think, yeah, that was a perpetual which was given, and then it was a draw. So fantastic game coming to a fantastic end. It's a well fought draw for both the players. Let's go back to a tournament. Let me quickly have a sip of water, guys. Hold on for a moment, please. Yeah, I'm back now. Let's check the next game. So this game is between Ernesto Rondon from he is from Venezuela, a nice country, Venezuela. So Ernesto Rondon from Venezuela from Team Future, and SRB is from BCC. SRB, I think, is an Indian player. Yes. So it's a Venezuela versus India battle going on currently. Let's check what happened in the opening. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, D4. Okay, it's a Scotch game. He takes D4 and C3, a Scotch gambit here. So knight to f6, pawn to e5, knight to e4, pawn takes d4, pawn to d5, knight to c3. This is all theory, guys. There is no novelty or nothing new here. So all the players who are playing e4, they should be aware of all this. And sorry, who are playing e5 from black, they should be aware of all this theory. Castles, pawn to f6. So that's how you have to break out from the black side to get some initiative by playing f6 and just try to destroy this pawn chain as early as possible from black side. So pawn takes, queen takes, and d5 is capturable now, I think. Yeah, knight takes d5, bishop takes d2, and knight takes f6 check, rook takes f6, knight takes d2, and bishop takes bishop. So black would be piece up if knight takes d5 is played. So knight takes d5 is not possible right now. So rook to e1 is played, supporting this bishop, and now knight takes d5 is possible. Okay, so rook d8 was played so that not to allow knight takes d5, and rook to d1, another improvement in the position, rook to e8, and now this is a live position, guys. White has to play nicely poised game, guys. So a lot of pressure on d4 as well as d5 pawns. A good question to this bishop: what are you going to do now? Are you going to go back to your home, or you're going to exchange, or just try to maintain the pressure? Because yeah, maintaining the pressure is good now, because if b4, then bishop can go to b6 and attack in this diagonal. Bishop is nicely placed here as opposed to the bishop on b4. From this b6 square, the d4 pawn will always be under pressure here. Okay, it's a nice bishop on b6. It's an attacking bishop, so bishop takes f3 is possible. Bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, and then rook takes e1, rook takes e1, and knight takes d5 is possible. Okay, so that's the current position. Queen a2 was played, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4. Now the c3 pawn is hanging and f2 is hanging, so I think this is in favor of bishop takes f2 check now, and rook takes bishop takes e1 can be played. Rook takes e1 is better actually. Rook takes e1, because then both the rooks would have been exchanged and the c3 knight was free then. So now white will get some chance to play knight takes d5. Okay, bishop, he has retracted the bishop. So it's a simple mate on e1 now. Yep. So all white lost was here actually. Few moves. Yeah. Queen a2. Probably queen a2 was something that white should not have been played. White should have kept his queen on d2 only. Okay, so if the white queen is on d2, it will keep supporting the d4 pawn. And actually a3 before is something that white wasted here, a3, and just making this bishop going to a5 and coming back to b6. It helped this black to attack the d4 pawn. So instead of that, I think h3 could have been played, h3, bishop h5, or bishop f3, bishop f3. That would have been playable, if not wrong. If not, yeah, but it's a difficult situation. Probably not so easy to decide how to continue from white side. Okay, so don't leave your pawn this on d4. This is isolated pawn which does not have any pawns to support, and these pawns are very vulnerable. So if you have such pawns in the game, you always will be on the receiving end to get some attack, and to lose such a pawn is actually a losing. You get some losing feeling that yes, this is the minus position for me, and this after this I am going to lose. So don't try to get into such positions where this pawn is a bit in a question mark position. So that's the learning from this game. Avoid weakness like this d4 pawn in the white's camp. So let's go back and check the next game. Right now, BCC team is leading with 43, Chess Blasters on 41, and RCCA on 38. Let's check the next game between. Okay, we have this game. We have the game between e4. Okay, so we have the game between Modern Tal and Ronoi from BCC. Let's just check this game quickly. E4, G6, knight F3, bishop to G7, pawn to D4, pawn to D6, bishop to C4, pawn to E6, pawn to C3, knight to E7, castles, H3, knight to D7, bishop E3. So against this structure, actually, this is an expected format from white, putting the bishop on E3, queen on D2, and just trying to put this bishop on H6, getting it exchanged with this dragon bishop. So pawn to B6, queen to D2, bishop B7, bishop to D3, pawn to E5, bishop H6, pawn takes D4, bishop takes G7, king takes G7, pawn takes D4, knight to G8, and then we have knight to c3, pawn to a6, and rook to e1, pawn to h6. I can see a comment, Saksham. Yes, I'll check your game after this. I saw once, but you are not playing. Knight to h2, knight to f6, pawn to f4, queen to d7, pawn to g4. So a full-fledged pawn storm attack by white here. He is trying to attack huge attack on the king side, trying to develop a huge attack on the king side. So pawn to h5, pawn to f5, pawn takes pawn takes pawn, and I think g5 will be playable now. Yes, g5 I think would have been playable. Queen to f4 was played first, knight to h7, pawn to g5, pawn takes, and rook takes f1, rook takes e1, rook takes e1, and f6. So look at the black's knights. Look at these knights. Actually, they are just so passive and so defensive. They are not, probably they won't see the daylight. They are just quarantined back in their homes. So rook to e6, knight to g4, knight to g5, pawn to d5.